What happens when a beloved country music superstar meets his match in television's most controversial host? You won't believe what unfolds when Blake Shelton sits down for what was supposed to be a simple promotional appearance, only to find himself trapped in a verbal minefield that would end with him storming off set in front of millions of viewers. This wasn't just another celebrity interview gone wrong. This was a calculated ambush that revealed the true nature of daytime television's dark side. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, because you're not going to believe what unfolds when two powerhouse personalities collide in the most explosive way possible. Last night's episode of Jenna Bush's talk show started like any other weekday afternoon broadcast. The studio audience was buzzing with excitement, knowing they were about to witness country music royalty in the form of Blake Shelton, fresh off his latest album release and riding high on renewed success after his recent career renaissance. The lighting was perfect, the cameras were rolling, and everything seemed set for what producers had promised would be an engaging conversation about music, life, and Blake's journey back to his roots. Jenna Bush emerged from backstage wearing her signature power suit, the practiced smile plastered across her face as she waved to the audience. But those who knew her well could already sense something different in her demeanor. Her eyes held a glint that suggested tonight wouldn't be the typical feel-good celebrity chat that audiences had come to expect. She had clearly done her homework, and not the kind that leads to softball questions about upcoming tour dates and favorite songs. Ladies and gentlemen, Jenna announced to the studio audience, her voice carrying that artificial enthusiasm that has become her trademark. Please welcome the one and only Blake Shelton. The crowd erupted as Blake emerged from behind the curtain, his signature cowboy hat slightly tilted, flashing that genuine smile that has charmed fans for decades. He waved to the audience, clearly in good spirits, completely unaware of what was about to unfold. As Blake settled into the guest chair, adjusting his jacket and exchanging pleasantries with Jenna, the atmosphere seemed cordial enough. The first few minutes proceeded exactly as expected. Light banter about his flight, compliments about his recent performances, and the usual back and forth that fills the opening moments of any celebrity interview. Blake appeared relaxed, even joking with the audience about his latest fishing expedition and how he'd rather be on a lake than in a television studio. So Blake, Jenna began, leaning forward slightly in her chair, let's talk about this amazing comeback you've been having. Your new album is climbing the charts. You're back in the spotlight, and fans are loving this return to your authentic country sound. Blake nodded, clearly pleased with the positive direction the conversation was taking. He launched into a heartfelt explanation about rediscovering his musical roots and how important it was for him to get back to the honest storytelling that had made him famous in the first place. But then, something shifted. Those who have studied Jenna's interviewing style know the signs: the slight pause, the way her smile doesn't quite reach her eyes, the subtle change in her posture that signals she's about to pounce. You know, Blake, she continued, her tone becoming noticeably sharper, it's interesting that you mention authenticity. Because there are some people who might question just how authentic this whole comeback narrative really is. Blake's expression changed almost imperceptibly. The easy smile remained, but his eyes narrowed slightly as he tried to gauge where this was heading. I'm not sure I follow you, Jenna, he replied carefully, his Oklahoma drawl becoming more pronounced as it always did when he felt defensive. Jenna leaned back in her chair, clearly savoring the moment. Well, let's be honest here. This isn't really your first comeback, is it? I mean, there was that period a few years ago when your career hit some pretty significant bumps. Radio stations weren't playing your music. Album sales were disappointing. And there were rumors about your personal life affecting your professional relationships. Some might say, this whole return to authenticity thing is just clever marketing to rehabilitate an image that had taken some serious hits. The tension in the studio became palpable. Audience members shifted uncomfortably in their seats, sensing that this had taken an unexpected turn. Blake's publicist, sitting just off camera, was frantically scribbling notes and making urgent hand gestures to the production team, clearly trying to signal that this line of questioning was not what had been agreed upon in the pre-interview discussions. Blake maintained his composure, but his knuckles were now white as he gripped the arms of his chair. "Jenna, I think you might be misinformed about a few things," he said, his voice steady but with an edge that hadn't been there moments before. "Every artist goes through ups and downs. That's the nature of this business. But to suggest that my music isn't authentic, or that my career struggles were somehow my fault personally, that's crossing a line." "Am I crossing a line?" Jenna shot back, her voice rising slightly. "Or am I just asking the questions that other interviewers are too polite to ask? Because let's face it, Blake, there are stories out there. Stories about behavior on set, about conflicts with other artists, about a pattern of difficulty that goes way beyond normal career fluctuations. And now, conveniently, just when you need it most, you've found religion about getting back to your roots?" The audience was now completely silent, the jovial atmosphere of moments before replaced by an uncomfortable tension that seemed to fill every corner of the studio. Blake's jaw tightened, and for a moment it looked like he might stand up and walk away right then and there. Instead, he took a deep breath and leaned forward, matching Jenna's aggressive posture. "You know what, Jenna?" Blake said, his voice now carrying a dangerous edge. "I came here thinking we were going to have a conversation about music and maybe give your viewers something positive to talk about. But it seems like you had a different agenda from the moment I walked out here. So why don't you just cut to the chase and tell me what this is really about?" Jenna's smile widened, but it was predatory now, not welcoming. "What this is about, Blake, is honesty. Something the entertainment industry could use a lot more of. And honestly, I think your fans deserve to know the real story behind this comeback, before they invest their hard-earned money in concert tickets and albums." The camera operators were having a field day, alternating between close-ups of Blake's increasingly angry expression and Jenna's triumphant smirk. This was exactly the kind of television moment that would generate clips, headlines, and social media buzz for weeks. But as the tension continued to build, it became clear that neither Blake nor Jenna was prepared to back down, and what had started as an uncomfortable exchange was rapidly escalating into something much more serious. Blake sat back in his chair, a dangerous calm settling over his features. When he spoke again, his voice was quiet but filled with barely contained fury. "You want honesty, Jenna? Here's some honesty for you. You've been sitting there for the past 10 minutes trying to tear down everything I've worked for. Based on what? Gossip? Rumors? Industry chatter from people who weren't even in the room when whatever supposedly happened? The confrontation was reaching a critical point, and everyone in the studio could feel it. The air was thick with hostility as Blake's eyes locked onto Jenna's, neither one willing to give an inch. What happened next would forever change how audiences